Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
Hello guys, welcome to our show. Today we discuss about creating your full funnel B2B marketing strategy. It's very important because I see when companies use generic strategies, they don't consider sales funnel, so they can't sell even if they get traffic. But today, if you want to win, you need to create your strategy that can consider unique selling proposition. I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Andrei Zinkevich. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, big pleasure, big pleasure. As I told you before the podcast, that I often see your LinkedIn posts. You love sharing value on LinkedIn. That's why LinkedIn loves sharing on my feed everything what you are talking about. So I'm so excited to learn more about sales funnel because I know how it's important. For example, I often cooperate with companies that tell they share it's hard to get results for a few years, and when I check out their strategies, I see nothing special. No, they replicate competitors, copy existing strategies. They don't consider unique selling proposition, so it's hard to get results. Before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and why you decided to share with us about this topic.
Okay, so I started in B2B marketing 17 years ago, and the most interesting part of that, I started in sales and actually spent first 5 years of my career in sales and then switched to marketing. Why? Because I was, while working and while I had quite successful career in sales, I was always wondering, so how can we motivate our customers to buy more? And so they would be willing to buy more, right? We're not pushing them, but they're willing to buy more for our products, our services. So that was the key factor why I moved to marketing department. And later in my career, I was in charge of marketing to the biggest retail chains. And our market was limited to 50 plus companies, right? And this is basically the answer to the question, which I get quite often. How did I learn account-based marketing? Basically, my reply is really simple. When your market is limited to 50 companies, you have no other chances than doing account-based marketing, right? So that's it for the last 9 years. I'm running my consulting company. 2 years ago, I partnered with my co-founder Vlad, with whom we did a couple of consulting projects together, and we decided to join forces and launch fullfunnel.io.
Nice. Love your experience. Andrei, I have the first question about what to do first. For example, if I have a project, I need to create my strategy. And I know the era of lazy marketers is that you can't use the same strategies to replicate your competitors because competitors consider their strong sides. They have their unique selling proposition. You can't copy them. And I see often marketing books experts share. What you need to do, use Ahrefs, SEMrush, other tools to check out how your competitors get traffic, sales, and replicate it. Yeah, possible if you have the same unique selling proposition. But most competitors have success with their strong sides. Can you tell where to start? What to do first?
I think that first of all, you nailed down the most common mistake, right? And the most common mistake is just copying your competitors, but aside from competitors, is copying your market leaders. So basically, if you try to, to replicate HubSpot strategy or Salesforce strategy, stop for a second and ask yourself, is my company at the same growth stage? Do I have the same budget and the skill set inside my team? Do I know their goals and why they are doing this specific campaigns? So these are the most important questions, right? In most cases, your answers would be no. I'm not at that growth stage, right? I don't have the skills and resources. The same questions could be applied to competitors, but aside from this, one more question I would ask myself: am I sure that my competitors are doing this right? So the fact that they have lots of traffic doesn't mean that this traffic has been converted into revenue. The fact that they have, I don't know, lots of pop-ups or chatbot, or they are going to TikTok and saying, hey, TikTok is hot, so you should be on TikTok, doesn't mean that it's correct approach for your company. So coming back to the question where to start, right? The first point is looking at numbers, right? And it's also, obviously, if we're talking about the existing businesses, right? Because for companies that are willing to start, the approach would be slightly different, but I think it makes no sense to touch it because that could be a completely different topic to discuss. So the first point is to look at existing numbers and just answer the question, how are we currently growing our business, right? So I would look at the markets that generate the revenue. So at what, if we are selling globally, right? So what markets generate the highest revenue, where we have the highest ACV, where we have a shorter sales cycle length, where we have a higher win rate or conversion rate, if you will, right? I would look at these points. Potentially, if I'm talking about SaaS products, right, I would look also at cost of acquisition. That would be really important as well to look at. And next, I would do the same analysis for the verticals, right? From what specific verticals or market sub-segments I have the revenue, but also I would look at the churn rate, right? So where do I have churn, where is the churn high or low, and successful use cases or implementation, right? If we're talking about the products, when it comes to services, I would look at the verticals where we have the strong domain expertise and we deliver the best results, right? I could explain it by using our own example. So these are the most important things. And then you'll see that not all markets and not all segments are created equal, right? So some segments generate much higher revenue, right? There is a shorter sales cycle length, and then there is a better product adoption. You have better use cases. And in some segments, you have a significantly high churn rate, right? So you're dealing with lots of problems, cost of acquisition is high. And then it leads us to the point, okay, so I have a strong presence and good results in this specific vertical, right? Maybe I should adapt my strategy to this specific vertical, right? That would be my first assumption. Next, I would look at the customers from this specific vertical. I would just simply extract the revenue and start analyzing the data, right? The same, basically analyzing the same points, but now looking at these specific companies and just filtering or sorting out these companies by revenue generated, because then you can see, you know how most companies describe their ICP. They say, hey, so I'm selling to startups from North America, or maybe more more narrow scope, let's say I'm selling to fintech startups in North America, but then you end up with a list of like millions of companies that fit that specific segment. Yeah. So generally speaking, right, you'll see that some companies generate like 60-70% of your revenue, and this is just a small amount of your total clientele database, right? So this leads us that even all of your customers were not created equal. If we want to create ideal customer profile, obviously we want to generate more clients like those, the top performance, right? Clients that generate the highest revenue potential. So my next step would be analyzing these companies and look at 5 pillars. Most companies look at only one pillar, firmographic. So they look at location of that company, right? They look at team size, maybe revenue, and usually that's it, right? Maybe tech stack. But I would look also at the buying committee structure. So how many people are involved in the purchasing, right? And if we are in B2B, in most cases, we'll be dealing with the buying committee. I would look at also, I would categorize these companies between different tiers, because companies with the highest revenue potential, right, they would be completely different from the companies with the lowest revenue potential. So I would look at these things. And next, I would analyze the basically two most important points. What if we look at these companies, right? Let's say top 10, top 15 that generate the highest revenue. So what are unique characteristics of these companies. So what can tell us, right? If we'll try to replicate ICP based on these clients, what can tell us that a new potential customer is a good fit, right? So it could be like a specific situation. I don't know, they're hiring for specific roles, or they raised money, or they recently changed CTO, or whatever, right? So we'll find common patterns. And another point I would look at is the disqualification criteria. So let's say if we look at all of these companies, right, and then we define the list of companies that can potentially buy from us, right, that fit our ICP, what can tell us that these companies are bad fit? So in this case, I would look at the companies that with whom we lost opportunities, right? And the reasons why we lost it. Price was high, or I don't know, the specific feature was missed, right, or whatever. So I would just look at these companies and try to find commonalities between them. So then we can have a good count disqualification criteria. And once we'll do this exercise, you will understand your customers way better and to whom you should market, right? The next step is doing the customer research. So the customer research actually has 2 layers. The first one is in-depth customer interviews. So in this case, you can talk a lot about the business and demand triggers. So what has happened in their business? So they started to look for the product like yours, right? What are the challenges they want to solve with this product, and how currently this product helps to solve these challenges? What are the results they are gaining, right? How do they usually look for the products like yours, right? What channels do they use? Are they going to communities, to review platforms, or whatever, right? Who is involved into purchasing decision, right? So do they need to present your product to, let's say, to their boss and get the approval? If yes, what questions are being asked, right? How they justify your product, or the budget that they need to allocate to purchase your product. So lots of these things. I would ask about the value, right? And the competition. So when you consider it my product, did you compare it to other products, right? If yes, can you share what products did you compare our right with, and why did you select our product, and why you didn't select the competitors' products, right? So you can understand the value and the differentiation. So based on all of these questions, you can come up with pretty good understanding of what value your product provides, how it's different from the competition, right? And this is based on the customer insights, obviously. And update your marketing message. The key point is to I know, like, if this is like a quite, let's say, quite a big topic to discuss about the positioning, because there are different positioning strategies. But I would say that the most solid strategy that I have seen that works for most companies, right? And it works always when you become a big fish in a small pond. So you adapt your product to a very specific customer, right? And then you avoid these comparison reports. You don't need to, you know how in SaaS space, usually companies, the first thing that they create, the comparison report, how we're different. But in this case, you're simply not dealing with the competition, because you provide an ultimate solution for a very specific customer, right? That's the point. And also, with the help of these customer interviews, and then we have another layer of customer research, is looking at the digital traces, right? Analyzing, we can look at the social profiles of our buyers, right? Looking at what content do they engage, what topics they're interested in, and combining it with all the interviews that we asked, right, about the channels they're using, etc. So we can understand their buying journey, right? What can trigger them to start looking for products like yours, right? If they are using competitor products, or if they switched from the competition, what motivated them to switch from the competition? So we can recognize the signals and patterns, right? And based on this, we can start creating our marketing programs from top of the funnel, where we can attract the attention of these people, to the bottom of the funnel, where basically we can explain how our product helps and what makes it different from the competition. function. So these are the most important steps. Basically, these are the fundamental steps that everybody needs to have before doing any marketing or sales.
Yeah, that was a long reply. Yeah, interesting. Okay, I have extra questions according to your reply. You remind me, Bill Gates once he shared in interview how he can sell products. For example, if he has product A and product B, after investing X money to product A and X money to product B, if product B sells 2 times more, so to get back like 2x money, the next time he will invest all money to product B, neglecting product A because of priorities. I can relate a little bit with your reply, and I'm interested about another aspect that we often have. You mentioned that you started your career in sales. Right now, you are in marketing. I check out a few studies that salespeople distrust marketers. That's why marketers usually don't talk to salespeople, ignore them because of this distrust feeling. Can you tell how to unite both marketers and salespeople to achieve a cohesive goal? Because many marketers, they usually have long plan strategy. It takes time, especially if we cover sales funnel. Some strategies can create brand awareness, many other aspects. So can you tell how to improve this cooperation between marketers and sales?
So first of all, I would tell you that this is a problem that exists mostly exists in mid-size and enterprise companies. So rarely it's a problem of startups because of intersection between the roles. Lots of people are wearing multiple hats, right? And they are closely collaborating with co-founders or senior leadership. But in mid-size and especially at enterprise companies, this happens quite often. I would say that in most enterprise companies, I know this is like the biggest challenge, and partially in mid-size companies. Why? Because of the organizational culture. These companies traditionally create these two functions, sales and marketing, as siloed functions. So they say, okay, sales, you guys need to sell, marketing, and then it leads us to a very interesting point. How do they define the role of marketing, right? And sometimes, unfortunately, in some companies, marketing is just the arts and crafts department. So, hey guys, make some slides. Hey guys, run some event. Hey guys, make things looking visually good. Hey guys, prepare for the conference or the trade show, etc. So there is it's a passive role that has no contribution to revenue. And obviously, if marketing operates that way, right, then sales always say, okay, I don't see any impact of marketing on revenue, so please give us the budget and we'll hit our revenue targets way faster. So that's the first. The second one, when in some companies, they cultivate lead generation mindset. So basically, they erase the understanding of marketing and they put marketing on the sales function. And in this case, especially if marketing is led by CRO or by, I don't know, any senior person who comes from sales or who doesn't have a marketing background, right? Then marketing becomes a pure lead generation function. It would be all about running webinars, but these webinars would be a sales pitch, right? And after the webinar, the list of signups will be sent to sales, and then sales will be spamming everybody. The same with all the content. All the content, it's not like the educational or nurturing content, right? It's all about, hey, look how great my product is. Hey, go and buy. Hey, go and buy, right? There is no demand generation function. It's all about sell, 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 sell. So these are two extreme camps, right? Now, how to align departments? Obviously, it requires change management. So it should be done, first of all, on the top organizational level. So the senior leadership should understand that, okay, there is we don't have sales and marketing, but we have revenue teams, right? I always give an example that's coming from football or soccer in the United States, right? So I would ask you, who has the most important role on the field? Goalkeeper, defense, midfielders, or forwards? And obviously you'll tell me, hey, but they all have their own roles and responsibilities, right? So the same is here, right? But the team works, every team has the same goal, to win the game, right? To win the tournament, to win the competition. The same is here. Both teams should have the same goal, to generate revenue, to hit the revenue targets, but their responsibilities would be different, right? So the first, the alignment comes on the fundamental level, that we need to have alignment on the go-to-market strategy, something that we have discussed, right? So the key elements of the go-to-market strategy: whom we are going to sell to, why we are selling to this specific vertical and this specific ICP, how are we going to sell, what marketing will be doing, and what sales would be doing, and what is the common revenue report that we both can use, right, to justify our activities, to measure our performance. That's the first thing. Next, if we'll dive deeply, and if I'm a marketer, I want to build a close relationship and close collaboration with my sales people, right? I would sit down with head of sales and just start reviewing the pipeline. I would say, okay, guys, can we review the 5 deals that you won recently and that were closed pretty fast, right? Why that has happened? So why we were able to to win these deals pretty fast. So we can recognize the patterns and align it with ICP. I would say, would you like to have more? Would you like us to help you with prospecting the same company? So basically generating demand and awareness in these companies, right? Because if you'll ask any salesperson what kind of help you expect from marketing, they will always tell, hey, so we want to make sure that these companies are aware of us, what we do, and what is our value proposition, what makes us different, right? So we'll have easier conversation going with these accounts. So next, I would say, okay, let's review the lost deals. Why did we lose this opportunity? So you see, it's very similar to this account qualification and disqualification approach. I would say next, okay, let's look at the pipeline accuracy. So like if your pipeline has 2,000 leads, then you definitely has a broken process, right? That's not accurate. You won't be able forecast, and that's the first mistake. Basically redefine what does lead mean in your organization, right? So what kind of opportunities or leads should appear in the pipeline, right? That's the first thing. Next, nail down this lead definition and leads handoff process. So when the lead is going from marketing to sales, when sales should pick it up, right? Next, define should this company, because it depends on the ACV, on average contract value of the product. Should the company be doing proactive account-based marketing campaigns, right? And it makes sense only in case if your ACV is relatively high, let's say starting from 30K, right? Then in this case, it makes sense to run these personalized campaigns. If no, then I would define, okay, so what is the leads engagement criteria? So how can we say that this lead is engaged enough so the sales should reach out? So what has happened, right? So maybe they visited specific pages on your website, like pricing, use cases, book a demo, whatever, and spend in total 30 minutes. Maybe they signed up for a product demo, etc. So you define this criteria and you agree with sales, right? Then you will not have any complaints from sales ever blaming marketing team for the low quality leads, right? So these things. Next, I would say, okay, so analyzing the lost deals. Do you see that some of these deals we were able to close, right? If yes, so what could we do differently, right, to close it? And they say, okay, here was the problem, that we didn't have a relevant case study from this specific vertical, right? Or we didn't have enough sales arguments, or we don't have a migration guide. So like you mentioned in the beginning, let's say tools like Href, SEMrush, etc. So the guys, let's say the guys want to migrate from Hrefs to SEMrush, right? And it wasn't clear and in Hrefs they built like the reports, the tracking system, and all of that stuff, right? And obviously they don't want to lose it, and the migration process wasn't clear to them, so they decided not to migrate. I mean, these points. So then you can say, okay, like if I will create this content, will it be helpful, right? Boom, done. Next, analyze the won deals and the stalled leads, right? So what can we do to accelerate these opportunities? So this guy asked me these questions and I don't know how to answer, right? Okay, so I need to prepare these answers for you. For the win deals, could we accelerate the process? Yes, we could, but the guy asked me for the budget justification because they need to do some in-house selling, right? And present the budget to CFO, to their boss, right? And I didn't have a good answer. Then I'm saying, okay, that makes sense to create an ROI calculator or budget justification tool, right? Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And now you become a helper, right? Now you start supporting sales. You take care of the revenue. And then you present the campaigns. You can always, whenever you want to involve sales in something, right? Let's say you want to do ABM on LinkedIn, or you want to involve sales into proactive social selling or whatever, right? Then you start explaining them, okay, guys, I have analyzed our conversation. I came up with this specific campaign. And when you present the new campaign, you need to come up with why, the framework, and that should be exact framework, not just, hey, let's do demand generation, right? The key pillars, so what are the activities that are required from sales? How much time do they need to commit to it, right? And the exact steps. So this is the way how to get this real alignment, and then you start tying it to revenue. So I can say from this activity, let's say, it's not lead generation activity, so we can't, make forecast on leads, but we can do this and that. So we expect inbound opportunities, and then let's say this can create this sort of intent data that you guys can use for proactive and highly personalized outreach. And based on this, you can start booking, opening conversations and booking demo calls, right? Makes sense? Let's do the pilot. So that's the way, and if you will follow all these recommendations, you will never have problems with sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, if someone from Hrefs can listen to this episode, make harder, to migrate to SEMrush, change all your reports, because Hrefs was sponsor of my podcast, like 20 episodes, and so yeah, a good tip for them, just to make harder to do this migration. Okay, Andrei, I have the question about how to learn customers. You mentioned a lot about customers to understand their pain points. Can you tell how to do practically? How to learn what customers need, their pain points, and how to unite with your products, unique selling proposition to decide their problems, simplify their lives, and something like this. For example, I see when companies share a lot of features. But for example, when I watch presentation Apple about new Apple Watch, after that I bought 3 pairs for me, for my son, for my wife, because I can't buy only 1 pair. They probably kill me. By the way, my Apple Watch right now is in the Atlantic Ocean, so this ocean owns my Apple Watch. But anyway, it happens. So can you tell how to learn customers and unite with your marketing message?
So look, I mentioned this partially. There are 2 ways, right? The first one, and the most important one, is running the customer interviews. Unfortunately, too many companies are neglecting this, or are afraid or scared to talk to their customers, right? And quite often they tell me, hey, so we don't want to bother our accounts or whatever, why they should spend time, we need to somehow incentivize us. But again, this is a business. Like you mentioned, why we are doing this? Because we want to make a product better for them, right? So we want to bring more value, and that's the main point, right? You take their time to make the product even more valuable, so it can I don't know, like simplify their job, right? You can add more features that will help them to do like the jobs to be done, right, better. So that's the main point. For me, if these are power users, it's like no-brainer. Like, let's say if I'm using your product, for me, it's no-brainer to give some feedback, so I will get a better product at the end, right? That's the first point. So some companies are scared to do this, and for me, this like kind of red flag, and this is a litmus test. And I'm saying, okay, guys, so what does it tell me is that you guys operate in our customers are happy by default mode, right? So which means like if they are not complaining, everything is fine. But the truth is that quite often customers won't complain until they have a significant issue with your product, right? And if they're not satisfied, maybe they won't be reaching out and saying, hey, I'm not satisfied with this, or I'm missing this feature. They will start an alternative research, and at one day you'll get, just if you have a high ACV product, you'll get an email from them saying, sorry, we are going to terminate our contract. Or if it's like low ticket product, they will simply unsubscribe, and that's it, right? So that's why we need to have a proactive approach, and we need to have this customer interviews. That's why I mentioned a couple of times how important is the ICP development, right? So you need to interview these customers and do it real time. So like we are chatting with you one-to-one right now, the same, I would go through all the questions that I mentioned in the when replying to your prior question, right? The second way is to do the digital analysis. So I would look at like if we're talking about products, right? So I would look at the product adoption and product usage inside the organization. So how often do they log in? What are the typical tasks they are running, right? Next, how often do they run these tasks? Do they use all the features or no, right? And then I would simply, when I'm running this customer interview, so for product, the process is slightly different because we need to ask more questions that are product related. I would start asking you questions, right? So I have seen that, let's say we have Hrefs, right? So I would say, I see that you guys run the tracking, position tracking for these specific keywords every single week, right? But then we have all this, like we have this keyword intelligence, we have like competitors analysis, etc. And you have never used these features. And I was wondering, are these features valuable for you and you simply didn't understand how to use them? This is like completely irrelevant, right? And then you start getting actionable feedback. Hey, I actually didn't understood how this works, right? Or I didn't find it, or like it's hidden, so it's not really. Maybe I didn't understand that this is included into my plan, whatever, right? So lots of these questions. And then I would simply, one of the ideas I would give you, I would potentially can combine it and make out of it like a podcast, whatever, like the podcast you have right now. I would ask about like the day of your target job role, let's say a day of SEO manager, right? So I would ask, can you please describe me a typical day and your typical routine? So what are the tasks you are executing? And then the person describes, right, the routine, etc. And then I'm asking, hey, so, and what do you use for this specific task? I do this that way, but did you know that you can do it in our product? You are using it, right? So lots of the things. Or maybe you can ask, okay, so this is like time consuming, like would you like us to create this feature? So potentially I see how we can add this to our product's functionality. Will it be valuable for you, right? And this is the actionable way to collect the right feedback. What most companies are doing, unfortunately, and I believe this process is completely broken. So they create a digital survey in like type form or whatever, in any digital form, right? And send a survey, hey, so would you be willing to fill in this form? And we'll send you, I don't know, like $20 Amazon gift card or whatever. And then you're sending it to the entire database right? You're not selling to the most valuable customers. The customers that, let's say, are these tier 1 accounts with the highest, that generate the highest revenue for a company. They might be busy. They don't feel it's personalized. So why should I waste time, right? And they will skip this research. Then you get feedback from entire clientele database, right? And different segments might have different reasons how they use your product. And then you end up with basically having no clue where to go. That's the point. So the point is to understand whoever's customers and just dive deeply into their jobs to be done and then adapt your product.
Nice, valuable. Andrei, I have the question about common mistakes. Can you list mistakes that companies still do and how to find a much better way?
So mistakes, I think that it's just funny enough, because lots of I see. I will give you one funny reply. A good friend of mine, Adam Gayet, who worked for Help Scout, he is now startups advisor. He once said, he made a funny tweet saying, so according to Twitter, 99% of us are doing everything wrong, right? Because all the tweets are the mistakes, the mistakes, the mistakes, the mistakes, the mistakes, right? So I'm just always getting at it, right? I would say that mistakes are coming from the lack of knowledge. That's the problem, right? So most companies don't want to get a proper education about marketing, about modern marketing, about modern sales, right? People who don't have marketing background, unfortunately, they think that sometimes they think, I'm not saying obviously about everybody, that it's just enough to have a target market that our product exists and that's it. And that good sales people can sell the product, right? And obviously, if you have ever watched The Wolf from the Wall Street movie, right, you can think that, hey, so I need just to hire Jordan Belfort and I need to hire people who know how to sell this pen, right? So that's the problem. This is where the lead generation mindset comes from. And unfortunately, in most cases, it can be changed only when they learn the lesson the hard way, when they hired lots of people, right, tried multiple tactics, did this pure outbound lead generation function, nothing works, and then they realize, okay, probably something is broken here and I need to do it differently, right? That's the first point. So like if we'll try to systematize the mistakes, and the number one is not having a clear and efficient go-to-market strategy, right? And these are all the points that we have discussed so far. So not understanding what verticals they're serving, who is the ICP, how do these customers buy, right? What motivates them to buy products like yours? How can you articulate your product, how your product is different, and articulate the value your product provides, right? These are the fundamental points. And aside from this, the next one is assuming that buying process is linear, which means like, okay, so people will see the ad and will go and buy my product. Well, if you are selling Netflix, right, or you are selling like $5 box subscription, maybe it makes sense. But if you are selling high-ticket B2B products, and I'm operating exactly in high ACV space, don't assume that your buyers, open LinkedIn or any social just to see the ad and then go and buy, right? And don't expect that just pure outbound can work, that all you need is just to find a good script and just spam everybody. So ask yourself, when was the last time you have purchased like an expensive B2B product from a cold call or from cold email from people, right? That's the simple answer to that question. Don't assume that your buyers are different.
Yeah, nice. Andrei, I have the final question. Let's imagine you started from scratch without any experience, knowledge, skills. What will you do today to learn more about sales funnel?
What I would do, so I would there are like basically two conditions that we need to define. If I knew everything that I know right now, or if I had no idea and I was just starting out the career. So which condition do you choose?
I think, let me explain why I'm asking about that. For example, I found that I usually get much higher results with companies that understand my services, what I can do for them. Now, for example,
Okay.
they order SEO services if they understand how it works, why we need to find the right keywords, why we need to create the right strategy, technical optimization, link building, content creation, many other stuff. So we usually get much higher results. If they don't understand, it's like, I don't know, if someone wanna lose weight, the best coach can't help you to lose weight. If you don't eat right, if you don't train hard, many something like this. Or for example, the best tutor can't help you to learn French or any other language, because you need to do yourself. The coaches, mentors can lead you in the right direction. Can you tell? And I usually educate my customers about SEO. What is it? How it's important? Why we need to use white hat SEO and many other stuff. So let's imagine I'm your customer and I have no knowledge about sales funnel, but I wanna sell more. So what can you? I don't know. What kind of resources do I need to take, or any tips that you can provide to me to learn more about sales funnel?
Okay, so got you. Let me give you a good example. So the first, I told you that in most cases, when it comes to marketing, right? In most cases, unfortunately, companies that don't, where the senior leadership comes from sales or from technical side, quite often they have this linear mindset and they assume that it's just enough to aware our customers, and they build the outbound function, right? So quite often it's really required to understand that this is not the way to sell the product, right? So the next, let's say if that's not the problem, right? So, and like you said, I want to learn more how to sell, right? I don't want just to do stupid things like spamming everybody and running lots of ads. I would just simply start asking myself question. Okay, so what were the recent products I have purchased? And I would look at the B2B space, right? I won't look at, I don't know, like the stuff that I'm buying at the grocery, obviously, right? But anyhow, so I would ask myself, what are the products I'm purchasing and why, right? How did I and why I have decided to buy these products? And like if I'm working with some vendors, why I decide to work with these vendors, right? So like you mentioned about, you shared your story about the Apple watches, right? And that you never buy one pair, but you buy three. So there are specific reasons for this. And one of them, obviously, you love Apple brand, right? So you buy lots of stuff. You don't purchase only the laptop. You purchase, you have everything. So iPhone, I assume iPad, iMac, and here we go, right? Like, why do you like this brand, right? But the first answer is actually how Apple was able to position themselves as a valuable product for you and your family, right? This will lead you to the next stage. How can I make my product or my service valuable to specific customers, and who are these customers, right? Again, this is the step that we have discussed multiple times during this conversation. So who are these buyers, right? And here we go. We start, okay, so how can I attract the attention of these people, right? How could I explain that my product is different? How can I articulate my value to them, right? For some of them, as you said, so maybe some are not even considering to purchase Apple watches, right? Because simply they don't know the value. For them, clocks are just the clocks, right? How can I educate that Apple watches provide additional value? These are not just the simple watches, right? So this sort of thing. So, and in this case, I'm going to proactively create the demand, right? So these people will understand the value and start buying my product, right? So these sort of things. But again, it leads us to fundamentals. Just start thinking about why you're purchasing some products. How did these companies, or how about these companies able to position themselves to become a valuable vendor for you, right? Producer or manufacturer. So these are the first things. Next, I would also look at some companies you admire, right? In tech space, you can find some leaders. I don't know, HubSpot, Salesforce, whatever you prefer, right? In B2B space, Snowflake. Look at these companies. What makes them different, right? And you'll see that they're running lots of marketing activities, and it's just not like a pure outbound and not just ads, right? And then you can say, okay, so if they are doing this, right, they probably know their buyers. How can I do the same? And this is how you start educating yourself on marketing.
Nice. Love it. Guys, I recommend 100% to follow Andrei Zinkevich on LinkedIn, because you can get additional value that you got on this podcast. Andrei, tell our audience the best way how to reach out to you, to learn more about you, follow you.
Yeah, so you already mentioned one channel. Type Andrei Zinkevich on LinkedIn. You'll find only one bald guy, no mistake. And yeah, you can go to fullfunnel.io where you can subscribe to our blog.
Nice. Guys, you can find the links in the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again for your time. A big pleasure. I got a lot of valuable insights. I'm pretty sure that my audience loves this episode as well. Thanks, guys, for listening and watching us. See you next time.
Thanks a lot for having me. Cheers. Take care.